This video is about inhalation anthrax. So what is it and what makes it so deadly? Well, anthrax is a bacteria that normally lives in the soil. From here it infects hoofed animals that happen to eat it. The bacteria then germinates, multiplies, and kills the animals so quickly it's sometimes left standing. Anthrax will then undergo sporification, where it will pump out millions of environmentally resistant spores, ready to begin the process anew. Thus, it is the simple life of your ordinary anthrax. But you're probably not interested in the boring stuff. You came here to see anthrax's deadly potential, so let's see that. Step 1. Inhalation. Let's say someone mails you a letter of super refined anthrax. You by chance happen to breathe some in. Well, anthrax right now is in spore form and is working its way deep into your lungs. Your macrophages, a common immune cell, will eat them thinking they're just common dirt or debris. But spore anthrax doesn't die. Instead, it hides, a Trojan horse being sent to your lymph nodes. Now, this sucks for multiple reasons. The lymph nodes are basically your immune system's barracks and command centers, and now anthrax is about to germinate in the middle of everything. But let's go back a little. How did your immune system fall for this Trojan horse, and why did anthraxes not stay in the lungs and chill? Well, spores are very resilient, not only to acid and compounds macrophages usually keep inside of them to digest their enemies, but they're also resilient to the harsh outside world and able to stay in nature for years just waiting. And apparently your lungs aren't good enough for anthrax. It wants more resources, better germination conditions, the works. It's a nice day for a cell. The birds are chirping, no one's dying, just great. But suddenly out of nowhere macrophages explode, releasing like what? Bacteria? What the actual? Bacteria aren't supposed to come out of cells, that's viruses. Bacteria are supposed to chill outside the cells, eating your food and producing toxins, but not inside. Who would have guessed that the spores germinated inside the macrophages and stabbed them open from the inside? But how? Turns out the bacteria were secreting toxins, 3 of them to be exact, and this is how they work. The first part is a protein that helps to get the toxins into the human cell, instead of them just floating outside doing nothing. This one's useless for when the bacteria is inside the cells, but immensely helpful after they emerge from the shredded carcasses of dead macrophages. It's called the protective antigen and attaches to the cell membranes, helping punch a hole through them. Through a lot of complex chemistry, there's no way like punching holes through a wall. But this hole is called a pore, and it helps facilitate the transfer of chemicals and other stuff into and out of the cell. Now the other toxins, lethal and edema factor. The lethal factor does exactly what you think and kills the cell. It does this by chopping a very important, very critical cell signaling enzyme called a kinase. This one being the mitogen activated protein kinase. Basically causing a cascading failure of a lot of cell signaling pathways, leading to the cell initiating its suicide, apoptosis. Edema factor does something different. It basically mass produces CAMP from ATP. CAMP being a messenger molecule that does so much important stuff, from regulating heart rate, contraction force, and cell salt and water reabsorption. As you can interpret from the name, edema factor leads to water leaking out of cells and accumulating in surrounding tissue, causing a lot of internal swelling, something that isn't very good. But what is your immune system doing? Well, they're trying. Turns out lethal and edema factor are doing a number on your innate immune system, with macrophages being slaughtered left and right, while it can't even signal for help that there's an infection. Your neutrophils are also present at the site of infection, but have trouble functioning. First of all, they don't arrive in time because of camp overload, preventing proper signaling of infections. They can't vomit their acid, oxidative bursts, that are usually pretty effective at killing everything, and vomiting out their DNA to form barbed nets to contain pathogens also doesn't happen because of camp overload. Okay, bad situation. Time for the adaptive immune system to kick in and be our saving grace. The immune system that has specialized B and T cells for every single possible attacker. The turner of tides, the savior of so many lost battles. Wait, where are they? It's looking grim. Turns out your dendritic cells, the intelligence supposed to gather information about the enemy and awake the adaptive immune system, somehow had all their vocal cords ripped out and shredded. Anthrax toxins prevent your dendritic cells from activating T cells to their full potential, and B cell antibody factories arrive too late when the toxin levels are already overwhelming. Anthrax has just blown the bridge between an innate and adaptive immune system. Anthrax first arrived near lymph nodes and is absolutely destroying them. Fun words like necrosis and internal hemorrhaging are being thrown around, basically meaning your tissue is dying and you have a lot of internal bleeding. In fact, one of anthrax's hallmarks is its major internal bleeding in the place between the chest and the lungs. And you now have a puddle of blood in that cavity, which is not great for breathing. Next, anthrax spreads into the blood, and from here it's free sailing to all of your vital, important, essential organs. The fact that it can spread to your blood so quickly is actually the main reason why inhalation anthrax is so much more deadly than cutaneous or ingestion, as it's because of anthrax getting a trip to your lymph nodes instead of being contained to a local infection that is easier for the immune system to deal with. And since your brain gets around 20% of your blood, it is at quote, at a high risk of bacterial seeding, along with the meninges, a protective layer around the brain and spinal cord. Once bacteria crosses this blood-brain barrier or colonizes the meninges, you get hemorrhagic meningitis, where all of this important covering is bleeding like hell, all of this causing confusion, seizures, and a coma. In your heart, the increased levels of CAMP from edema factor weaken heart contractions, leading to a weaker pulse and eventual cardiac arrest. Your lungs build with fluid, your liver and spleen are dying, unable to process the immense amount of toxins flowing through your blood. And also, your blood vessels are leaking ungodly amounts of blood, leading to a total collapse in blood pressure. And all of this blood is pooling around in you instead of being pumped around, and your organs aren't getting any oxygen and begin to die. You enter septic shock, and succumbing to anthrax, death is all but guaranteed. All of this from a bacteria and its toxins, all of this from an overproduced CAM messenger protein, and still signaling pathways getting chopped. Without intensive antibiotic and antitoxin treatments, you will die. Even with treatments, the mortality rate is very high, making anthrax one of the most potent bioweapons of all time.